Andy Johnson, some issues with reading fluency. The question, should fluency scores be reported as words per minute or words correct per minute? We will answer that. Defining our term, the ability to quickly recognize words during the process of reading. It has to do with speed and reading rate, as well as prosody. We'll get to that in just a minute. But it frees up space. The ability to automatically recognize words frees up space so that you have more cognitive space in working memory to devote to comprehension and word identification. Now, prosody is oral reading that uses correct timing, emphasis, inflection, and intonation to demonstrate appropriate recognition of phrases and ideas. In other words, oral reading that sounds similar to how one speaks. There is a correlation between fluency and comprehension, but correlation does not infer causation. Some suggest that fluency frees up space in short-term memory, as we said, to devote to comprehension. But does comprehension enhance fluency, or does fluency enhance comprehension? Correlation does not infer causation. Strategies, the best, lots of reading, the best way, lots of interesting books at the independent level or below. Immersing students in print is important. In and of itself, it is not. None of these strategies should be used in isolation. Scaffolded oral reading, similar to neurological in-press method, provides scaffolding when reading individually. Choral reading, reading together in small or large group. Echo reading, teacher reads a line, student or students repeat it back, and repeated reading in various forms, and we'll be looking at that right now. There are many forms of repeated reading activities, but the key element is reading and rereading the same passage. It is a timed reading activity. Two common ones, words per minute. Read as many words as you can in 1 minute. Short passage fluency. Read a short passage and time yourself. These are done 3 times. This is one part of instruction or a reading intervention. Should not be used in and of itself. Could be used once a week. If done daily, 3 to 8 minutes a day as needed at most. This is a short part. This has only to do with fluency. Why does it work? From the neurological perspective, we are strengthening neural pathways, expanding neural networks, so students are microseconds quicker at processing and recognizing letter patterns and words. Baby steps. It could work because there's more exposure to print, simply more exposure to words, sentences, sentence structure. Now remember, volume of reading is connected with a bunch of things. Word identification, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension. The more we are exposed to print, maybe repeated reading works because they are simply exposed to more print. And or self-efficacy, and I think it's a little bit of all of these. Students see themselves getting better. They read a passage 3 times. They see their time getting better each time with practice. They say, oh, maybe I can get better at reading instead of failing all the time. So, do you report the scores in words per minute or words correct per minute? Note that scores are estimates. Fluency rates are affected by all these things. Sometimes you read a piece faster, sometimes slower, depending on these things. Words per minute, you record all the words that a student is able to read in 1 minute. Short passage fluency, you report the time they read all the words. Words correct per minute, you only count the correct words. You do not count for mistakes or miscues. Which one should you use? Well, use words per minute as a fluency score because we are concerned only with rate. We'll look at prosody other places, but there are other places to assess, measure, document comprehension and word identification, such as running records, miscue analysis, story retelling charts. We are concerned only with rate here as a score. There are other ways and places to focus on word identification and fluency. You ask, well, what happens if students say just anything that pops into mind? This rarely happens. But if it does, know that nonsense words actually tax short-term memory. It slows it down because the student has to pause at an unrecognized word, even if it's just for a microsecond, and search and insert a word into that sentence. So when reporting repeated reading scores, use words per minute instead of words correct per minute.